Hello, dear Pam Pam enthusiasts. Today we present some stories. A story about a man who was confident in himself about his family life, that was always very happy. Nothing could break them apart. But then, like a glass of cold water splashed on his face, he caught his wife cheating with two guys in his bedroom. And now let's dive into this story. First of all, I just broke up with my wife, and I feel completely comfortable with that decision. If you still have a wife, leave comment number 2 below. A decade passed, I believed I was living the ideal existence. A lucrative six-figure position, a stunning partner by my side, a pristine home, two brand new vehicles, and an impending arrival of a little one. My work brought me joy, and I excelled in it, while the sense of stability was truly remarkable. My wife embraced my true self, overlooking my imperfections as I endeavored to refine them. In exchange, I cherished her deeply, and we appeared to embody the ideal couple. People frequently praised us, expressing their envy for our relationship and all that it encompassed. It continued to improve. With each passing year, I found myself ascending the ranks, while our family grew to include three beautiful children. Eventually, we transitioned from a modest dwelling to a remarkably splendid home. My wife thrived in her career as an optometrist, and we enjoyed delightful vacations together each year. Once more, I believed I had everything figured out. In the early days of 2015, a curious impulse led me to purchase a Tesla for her birthday, though I can't quite pinpoint what inspired such a decision. Since 2008, she had not acquired a new car, while I continued to embrace the thrill of new vehicles. Thus, I caught her off guard. She adored it, adored me, and I recall that whole day spent cruising around, discovering how each gadget and icon functioned. From that point onward, everything seemed to spiral downward. It is perplexing to consider how that could have sparked any reaction. Yet in the months that ensued, she grew more and more distant, not just from me, but also from her own children. My eldest, a 10-year-old girl, was particularly affected by this and frequently attempted to spark conversations with her mother to encourage her to engage. On certain days, this approach would yield results, and she would respond with a sense of warmth. For some, it might have yielded an entirely different outcome. It was in July 2016 that I first sensed I was no longer the one she preferred, as I observed her absence from yoga classes, despite her claims of attending. We shared a phone plan, which included the feature that allowed us to track each other's locations. As I casually scrolled through the app one day, I observed that she seemed to be at someone else's home. Given her inexplicable anger the day before she left, I chose not to inquire about it when she returned from yoga. Instead, I decided to attentively watch her movements during her yoga sessions. It invariably found its way to that same residence, nestled in an affluent neighborhood, likely a notch above our own, just a bit north of the town's heart. As I prepared to face her, I observed that she had resumed her yoga practice once more. Throughout this time, she grew remarkably aloof and emotionally volatile. For more than a year, my entire family had observed this behavior, but I had reached my limit. I took a moment to sit her down and gently inquired about what was troubling her. She turned away from me, and when I inquired about the yoga spots, she labeled me a stalker, claimed I was invading her privacy, and called me a grade A jerk. In that moment, I turned to her and asked, "Are you cheating on me?" Naturally, the response was a resounding no. In the weeks that unfolded, a palpable sense of distrust, simmering hatred, and raw anger directed towards me took root. It was evident that she realized I had seen through her facade, attempting to adopt the guise of the innocent, the shocked, the victim. Yet I remained undeterred, fully aware of the truth that lay beneath her act. It was at the moment she confessed to having seen and shared a bed with another man that I faltered in my judgment. I extended my forgiveness to her. She expressed her love for me, for our family, and in that fleeting moment, I found myself believing her words. I believed she had the capacity for transformation. I admit my mistake. We sought the guidance of marriage therapy. We attempted to embrace our adult days. It appeared to be effective. Joy enveloped us, and she radiated genuine delight, as if the essence of her former self had returned to me. Relief washed over me. This enabled me to dedicate more time to my children and my professional pursuits, resulting in a significant reduction in stress overall. My business trip to San Diego, coming all the way from the East Coast, was unexpectedly truncated when my colleague fell ill, prompting our clients to insist on a rescheduling. Though it was a bit of a struggle, we managed to catch the next flight and made our way back home. I can't quite pinpoint the reason I chose not to inform her of my return, but the decision simply eluded me. Perhaps I wished for it to remain a delightful surprise. The sole astonishment that greeted me as I drove into the driveway was the sight of a Ford SUV parked in my garage, accompanied by the unsettling discovery of not just one, but two men sharing my bed with my wife. All of this unfolded yesterday. At last, I am articulating my thoughts. My wife began to babble when it occurred, fervently attempting to articulate her thoughts. I was oblivious to it all. I stepped out of my room, descended into the basement, and poured myself a drink. The sounds of men departing from the upper floor reached my ears, and as I ascended the stairs once more, I found my wife seated there, her demeanor closed off, a melancholic smile gracing her lips. She began to speak, yet I refused to entertain it. I instructed her to leave. I instructed her to leave my home. I let her know that I would deliver her belongings by the week's end. She attempted to invoke the whole "what about the kids" nonsense, but I had simply reached my limit. I feel a sense of sorrow, yet it is not for her. My heart aches for my children, and I feel a deep sorrow for the unfortunate soul who will cross her path next. I will battle fiercely for my children, yet my greatest dread lies in the thought of losing them. I am confident that the court will deliver a resounding decision in support of mothers. I wish they could see that for the past 3 years, I've poured my heart into healing a fractured marriage for the sake of my family, yet nothing has come to fruition. This morning I shared with my children. They inquired about the reason Mom didn't stay over last night. I chose not to send them to school today. They are gathered together upstairs. This entire predicament is unfortunate for all parties concerned. It was a situation that could have been entirely avoided. I hold no pity for my wife. I wish for her to carry a single label throughout her entire life. Deceiver. I desire for her to pursue her. I desire for others to be aware. She stands out as a leading optometrist in our community. This has the potential to damage her business significantly if the news circulates, and it certainly could. I felt it was important to share this with you. A delightful piece of news. Salutations once more. I wonder if you recall my previous post from about 2 months back, where I shared the harrowing tale of discovering my wife's infidelity and the impact it had on our family. In a state of profound distress, I must now acknowledge that as of July 13, 2018, our civil court case has reached its final resolution. The process unfolded swiftly and effortlessly, leading me to triumph in all my endeavors. I find myself uncertain about the potential breach of any guidelines, so moderators, please don't hesitate to take action if necessary. However, given the encouraging response to my previous post, I felt compelled to share an update. If you prefer, you may bypass the lengthy paragraphs at your discretion. I will include a summary at the conclusion. Upon returning home from a business trip 2 months prior, I discovered my wife in bed with 2 men. After years of her calculated deception towards our family, I found myself foolishly welcoming her back, despite having already uncovered her infidelity with someone significantly older and wealthier than I. Following my demand for her to leave, she turned aggressive and issued threats regarding my children. My concern had reached an unprecedented level at this juncture. Whispers of courtroom horrors echoed in my mind, tales of mothers bending the rules to their will, leaving me uncertain of what lay ahead. This summer, I found myself compelled to step away from work, as a persistent illness weighed heavily on me, compounded by the unsettling notion of my ex-wife overseeing our children. If they turn out in any way resembling her, I will deem myself a failure as a parent. On May 21, 2018, I submitted my request for full custody and formally initiated the divorce process. I enlisted the services of a lawyer recommended by my best friend at work. He initially offered to take on the case pro bono after hearing about my situation, but I couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't right. Ultimately, he decided to formally join the case. We meticulously combed through my phone records and her location data, gathering every piece of information we could to construct our case. The court ceremony commenced on July 12th, just a week after my children and I returned from our vacation. Heeding my lawyer's counsel, I refrained from taking them out of state. However, it served as a pleasant diversion. My eldest daughter, at the age of 10, appeared emotionally resilient enough to respond to inquiries from both attorneys, despite my plea for her to be spared from this entire ordeal. She expressed that my ex-wife had been challenging and consumed by paranoia for the past year, yet she had managed to adapt to it, a burden no child should ever have to bear. Yet the pivotal moment of the ceremony came with her declaration of relocating to California, a decision that would force the children to make a choice. Each of the three chose me. Her attorney attempted to assert that I was undermining their efforts, swaying the children to choose me instead of her. Yet the truth was unmistakable. They yearned to remain in the familiar house, surrounded by the same friends, and continue their journey in the same school. The court decided that they would reside with me full-time. They were allowed to visit their mother at their convenience, provided that their stay did not exceed 14 days in my absence. Furthermore, she is prohibited from entering my property, which encompasses our residence in South Carolina, my parcel of land in Boulder, in any of the office buildings operated by my company. My parents and close relatives have also made requests to ensure that she does not step foot in any of their homes. In the end, I find myself utterly relieved. Never have I felt so unburdened in the last 3 years. It brings a touch of melancholy to acknowledge the end of my marriage, yet I've come to understand that the weight of that failure does not rest solely on my shoulders. In the coming years, I intend to focus on myself and dedicate my energy to nurturing my children. What a poignant tale that ultimately resolved in a positive light. Well done. Subsequently, my girlfriend convinced me that I was to become a father, only to discover after the birth that the child was not mine. I seek assistance. For some time now, I've frequented Reddit, and I started to quietly observe this particular subreddit when I first had my suspicions about my girlfriend's fidelity. I had wished to avoid this moment of posting, yet here we find ourselves. I am a 28-year-old man who has been in a relationship with my 25-year-old girlfriend for nearly 2 years. The relationship flourished, and then she revealed to me the news of her pregnancy. Generally, I exercise caution, and she assured me she was using birth control. Though I harbored doubts, I decided to attend the appointment. I came to the realization that it was simply one of those occurrences. From a young age, the dream of having a family danced in my heart, and though the start was not as I had envisioned, an overwhelming joy enveloped me. Having moved past the first trimester, I welcomed her into my home at her urging. Identify the warning sign I overlooked. We are contemplating our professional paths and the arrangements for the baby. She is quite determined to return to work while also being able to remain at home. She insists she can make it happen. I accompany her to each and every appointment. All remains well. As we enter the third trimester, I diligently arrange my schedule to ensure I attend every appointment. Until now, I had attended every appointment in full. During this particular appointment, she requests that I wait while she speaks with the doctor first. A deep sense of worry envelops me, as I fear that something may be amiss with the baby, and she seemed intent on keeping it from my ears. I enter, and the examination is completed. All appears to be in order. My girlfriend dismisses my worries about my absence during the entire event. A further warning sign has emerged. As the due date approaches, now just a month and a half away, I've observed her becoming somewhat elusive with her phone calls and texts. She informs me that it pertains to work, and that it is confidential, among other things. With my senses heightened, I find myself stealing glances at her phone. She possesses both Snapchat and Kik. It strikes me as peculiar, yet I choose not to address it with her. The arrival of the baby fills me with an indescribable wave of emotion. The child is flawless, and everything unfolded beautifully. Next arrives the moment when they request my name to be included on the birth certificate. My girlfriend grows quite persistent regarding it. She persistently requests my assistance, her anxiety more palpable than I have ever witnessed before. I notice the warning sign that others overlooked. I refrain from doing it. We find ourselves in a disagreement, yet she ceases her insistence. It seems she is aware of how questionable it appears at this point. We've returned home, and she must attend to the baby now that I've awakened. She placed her phone aside to attend to the baby. I found myself unable to resist the urge to glance. The door remained ajar, unlatched, and inviting. I begin my search for messages or phone calls. I stumbled upon an entire exchange on Keek with a guy. Every detail of her appointments, snapshots capturing moments with her and the baby. At that moment, it comes into view. She claims that she believes it to be his child. I face her, and she offers her apologies. She concedes that the baby might belong to me or another, yet she leans towards the belief that it is indeed mine. I insist on a paternity test, and then I will take my leave. A week has passed since the confrontation unfolded. The results arrived yesterday, revealing that the baby is not mine. She has departed to reside with her mother. The most delightful aspect is this. It required considerable effort on my part, given that the only leads I had were the usernames of those she communicated with. Her father holds the position of her superior. The shroud of mystery was intended for him. The manager, a family man with a spouse and 4 children, navigating the challenges of middle and high school. I located the wife on Facebook and shared everything I had, including messages from my girlfriend asserting that it belongs to him. My heart is shattered in countless ways. In many respects, I consider myself fortunate in this situation, yet I find myself deeply wounded. This has utterly transformed my entire perspective. A sense of bitterness lingers within me, accompanied by a simmering anger and a profound distrust. I find myself at a loss on how to move forward from this situation. Coming up next. My sister, with her sense of entitlement, aims to take our late grandmother's apartment from me, all so that her lover can move in and she can have easier access to him, disregarding the family legacy. I simply required a space to express my frustrations, as I'm feeling quite upset. It's perfectly fine if no one notices these replies. I apologize if this comes across as confusing to you. There are no guarantees of clarity. Well then, brace yourselves and prepare for a spectacle, my friends. My sister, in her mid-30s, exemplifies entitlement in a way I've rarely encountered. She perpetually assumes the role of the victim, incapable of fault, as if the universe is indebted to her for her perceived grievances. This time, however, she has ascended to an entirely new level. She recently revealed to our mother and me that she has begun seeing someone secretly, all while still married. To be frank, her husband is quite the scoundrel, but really just end it, all right? No one merits the pain of betrayal, and while he may be utterly despicable, an affair cannot be seen as a fitting retribution. It's chaotic, unappealing, and ultimately not worthwhile. Avoid unnecessary complications for all involved. Our beloved grandma departed from this world at the close of August. It has barely been a month since her departure, and given her terminal illness, we had the opportunity to converse about certain matters and prepare for others. She resided in an apartment connected to our mother's house, and we had discussed the possibility of my moving in after Grandma's passing. Everyone considered it a sensible idea, as my grandmother had installed features like no-slip railings and equipped the kitchen with tools and gadgets designed for arthritic hands. Being disabled myself, I could certainly benefit from such accommodations. It has come to my attention that my utterly disappointing sister believes it would be a clever notion to relocate her marital affair to our mother's property, using our mother as a facade for her indiscretions. I am filled with disgust and fury at this revelation. We had just begun to welcome my sister back into our lives as the loss of Grandma had profoundly impacted her, prompting what appeared to be a genuine transformation. Yet it seems her intentions are driven by the desire for her boyfriend to move in. I doubt anyone will embrace the concept wholeheartedly. I find it hard to fathom that she considered it a feasible option, let alone something she would dare to propose to us. What makes her think we would assist her in deceiving her husband? I wish to distance myself from it entirely. I refuse to be complicit in this matter. Furthermore, her reasoning for proposing that he relocate is that the original poster appears to lack urgency in making the journey up there. I discovered our grandmother's passing, and I apologize for not rushing to clear her belongings from the house. I apologize for not having gone through her belongings and preparing them for rehoming or donation. It pains me to think of parting with even the smallest remnant of her presence. The necessity of letting go stings deeply, and for that, I find myself filled with regret. I apologize for not having completed it yet, but perhaps a touch of empathy could be beneficial. I have made the choice to remove my sister from my life once more. Every time I entertain the notion that she might transform, She reveals herself once more as the same wretched, self-centered individual, and I am finished succumbing to the illusion. Enjoy the journey through the unavoidable divorce proceedings. Best of luck trying to make sense of all this nonsense for your children. Here's the latest information. The previous discussion brought forth numerous insightful points that my mother and I had not fully contemplated, including the possibility of my sister facing eviction and requiring a place to stay, the timing of revealing the affair to her husband after my move, and various methods of broaching the subject. All of these considerations are now shaping our path ahead. As my family and I sift through Grandma's belongings, a bittersweet wave washes over us. Each item we encounter stirs a pang of sorrow, a reminder of her fading presence. Yet amidst the heartache, we uncover a treasure trove of family photos and cherished keepsakes, each one a portal to joyful memories that bind us together. I stumbled upon a box that once belonged to my great-grandpa, containing his pocket watch and a locket that held a cherished photo of my great-grandma. My sister successfully muscled her way into the apartment for a few hours, determined to select her cherished keepsakes. However, the joke's on her, for I cleverly concealed all the items Grandma would never have wanted her to take. She departed with little more than an ornate bowl in her possession. She is beginning to let go of the idea that her boyfriend can move into the apartment now that she recognizes the seriousness of my position as the new tenant. However, she did make a few subtle remarks that indicated the matter is still lingering in her mind. She may scheme to her heart's content, but we are fortifying our defenses with a new security system and changing the locks. If she believes she can slip in unnoticed or lay claim to anything else, she is in for a rude awakening. My mother and I have come to a resolution. Once I am settled into the apartment, we will reveal the truth of the affair to her husband. We intend to extend our support to him and the children, doing everything within our power to assist them during this difficult time, be it offering emotional support, providing babysitting services, or any other assistance we can muster. Our goal is to ease the burden when my sister's infidelity comes to the surface. Though my sister may resent us for our stance, ultimately she bears the consequences of her own choices. I find myself weary of shielding her emotions, allowing her to mistreat those around her without repercussions. My mother shares this sentiment. We both believe that the time has come to draw a line. If we fail to hold her accountable for her behavior, she will undoubtedly continue to test the boundaries of what she can escape unscathed. There were suggestions to take the anonymous approach in alerting her husband, and while I considered that as a viable option, I ultimately believe it could lead to some internal conflict for him down the line. If he was unaware of his wife's infidelity, then who else was in the know? And how many others shared this secret? Did she leave it exposed in plain sight during his absence, while others lacked the respect to inform him directly? I wish for him to avoid the torment of endless speculation. Well, I believe that wraps up everything I have to share with you all for the moment. I wish to share the current status of certain matters and their future direction. Your overwhelming support has been invaluable and deeply appreciated. Thank you all. Relief washes over me as the burden of this dreadful, unsightly secret begins to lift. Soon her husband will be privy to the truth, and together we shall embark on a journey towards healing.